Welcome to Video Rental Chaos. As you can see, I'm just leaving the video store where I just rented the very first John Wick. Now I'm in a high-speed pursuit with some Russian gangsters. Wish me luck. "2014 introduced the world to the action film John Wick. This film quickly caught the attention of audiences around the world. Keanu Reeves jumped back into the Hollywood lights with his independent action flick. John Wick is considered by many to be the premier action franchise of this century. Well, I hope your Mustang is gassed up and your puppy's been locked away. Let's jump right on into John Wick. We are introduced to John Wick as he is seemingly left for dead in the rain, playing a video back of his now dead wife. We soon learn the history of what led to that night through a montage at the beginning, showing John falling in love with his wife, only to lose her to a mysterious illness. At the funeral, an old friend Marcus shows up to extend his condolences to John. Soon after the funeral, a package arrives at his home. It is revealed to be a beagle puppy that John's wife had arranged to be delivered to John to help grieve the loss of her. We see a couple days later, John at a gas station filling up his 1969 Boss 429 Mustang. A group of Russian gangsters unfortunately show up at the same time. A cocky kid by the name of Yusef Tarzov offers to buy the car from John. He lets the kid know that the car is not for sale. This spoiled brat does not take no for an answer and breaks into John Wick's house. Tarzov and his goons assault Wick and in the process kill his brand new puppy, who is the last connection he had to his now dead wife. This scene sets up the events that make up the rest of the film. Yusef attempts to take Wick's Mustang to a chop shop owned by Aurelio. He instantly knows where this car came from and refuses to take on the job. John, having the knowledge of where his car would probably end up, shows up at the chop shop. He is then informed that the man who broke into his home and killed his dog is the son of Pizot Productions, his former boss and head of the New York City Russian mafia. Vigo soon finds out what his son did, and he instantly lashes out at his boy, letting him know that he royally fucked up. This is where we learn the history of John Wick, as he's a former hitman that had asked for his release from Vigo years ago. See, Vigo gave John a task he felt was impossible and thus would keep him employed forever. Well, John laid out all the bodies, thus clearing the way for Vigo's empire in New York City. During this conversation, John breaks into his emergency stash of weapons and gold coins. Vigo makes a call to John in an effort to smooth things over. Wick makes it very clear that he is out for his son's blood. Vigo, knowing he needs to try and save his son's life, sends a group of thugs to John's house that night. We learn real quick that John is not fucking around as he systematically kills off all of the intruders in his home. Vigo now puts out a $2 million contract for the head of John Wick. He even enlists John's former mentor Marcus to assist with the killing. We are introduced to a luxurious hotel called the Continental. This is a place where known assassins are found, as it's a bit of a neutral ground when you're in the city conducting criminal business. Upon checking in, John meets up with the hotel owner Winston. That's where he finds out that Yusef is at a nightclub called the Red Circle. All hell breaks loose as John descends on this nightclub, stacking body after body. John is almost able to get Yusef, but he barely gets away. John does not escape though without injury. He returns back to the Continental as he seeks the help from a doctor. Right as he is about to get some shut-eye, we see that Marcus is about to collect on that $2 million contract. All of a sudden though, he notices a Miss Perkins sneaking into the room. He gives off a warning shot and lets John know that someone else is there. Wick and Miss Perkins battle it out in the hotel room. Earlier in the film though, it was established that the Continental is off limits for business. Thus, Perkins is breaking a lot of rules at this moment. Not wanting to kill a fellow hit woman, John is able to gather further intel that a local church is a front for Vigo's stash for cash. John hires another fellow hitman, Harry, to watch Perkins while he embarks on an adventure to this church. Obviously not being there to confess his sins, John takes out the church members and is able to gain access to the vault, containing extensive blackmail material and cash. John Wick, who is out for the ultimate revenge, sets it on fire. Vigo arrives, and upon finding out what occurred, John is able to ambush Vigo. Unfortunately for John, he is hit by Kirill's car as he is then taken in. He tells Vigo that he will not stop until he avenges the death of his puppy and kills Vigo's son. We think this might be the end for John, but Marcus again steps in and is able to save John. John is able to escape and track down a departing Vigo. In exchange for not killing Vigo, he gives John the information on the whereabouts of his son. John is able to take out all of Lucif's protection one by one. They are all killed, and John is able to finally take out his revenge and kill the boy that killed his only piece of happiness in this world. Afterwards, we get a scene where Marcus tells John that it's time to go back to his everyday life. Lurking in the distance, Miss Perkins sees that Marcus had a change of heart about John Wick and informs Vigo of the double cross. This leads to Marcus being cornered and killed by Vigo and his henchmen. Upon learning the news of his former mentor's death, John then heads back to the city for more revenge, and this time to kill Vigo once and for all. He is then given the privy information from Winston, who is able to have Miss Perkins executed for breaking the rules of the Continental. John, now knowing that Vigo is headed towards a helicopter to get the hell out of the city, is able to stop him before arriving and is able to kill all of the rest of Vigo's men. It's down to a one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat fight. Vigo, though, eventually pulls out a knife, and in order to gain leverage, John takes a stabbing only to then break Vigo's arm and wound Vigo severely enough to cause his death. Now being full circle and back to the beginning of the film, John Wick still has the will to live and is able to break into an animal shelter to gain access to the medical supply to treat his wounds. Along the way, John finds a pit bull puppy that was scheduled to be killed. The final scenes show John Wick and his new friend making the long journey home. John Wick is a modern-day classic action adventure. The studios took a big gamble with the first-time director, but it sure did pay off, as John Wick is one of the highest-grossing action franchises in today's modern-day cinema. Personally, I just got into this franchise within the last several years. This film has served as a bonding experience with me and my kids as well, as they fucking love these movies. Now, I'm sure there are those haters out there that want to knock John Wick as not being that great. But in the day and age of green screen superhero flicks, in my opinion, John Wick stands out for being an original story with a very detailed action sequences throughout all the films. It is the best action franchise of the last decade. Let me know what you think about John Wick in the comments section. And until next time, I'll see you at the video store.